3, 2, 1. I think, wait. Just give me another 5 seconds.
It says we're streaming live.
It says you're live.
Yeah.
And you're live.
So warm welcome everyone that's tuning in, especially our youth club members for the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation. It's a Friday afternoon. I am so excited to be here this Friday afternoon because some of you may know or not know, but the Kathrada Foundation is my political home. And I've recently become a board member, which is incredible because I always bang on about youth inclusion and tokenism, but this is the one foundation that nurtures young talent and really pushes non-racism in South Africa. We're working at a community level. We have incredible young leaders who join us. And unfortunately, because of COVID-19, we are stuck to doing this live, and we're going to continue being virtual for a little while. So welcome to our Hangout series. I have a stellar panel here, and I don't want to call it a panel. I think it's a conversation, a hangout, right? It's going to be a packed hour. And the idea is that we just get exposed as young people to different professionals. What's the different profession we can follow after COVID-19? Hear all of these inspirational stories, but also a chance for you to ask your questions. So please post your questions in the comment box. And before I start, a huge shout out to my partner in crime, Irfan Magera. So I see Kanya giving me the biggest smile on the planet, right? And I know some of you on this panel, and I don't know some of you on this this discussion. So it's going to be great. So Kanya, just because you're giving us the biggest smile, right? Just tell us how you're doing today.
Right. You can hear me, right?
Yep.
Perfect. Well done. I'm so happy to be here. This is the first one, and it's such a privilege and an honor to be part of such a discussion. Thank you for, being a champion in this, you and Irfan. I really am happy to be a part of this conversation. I am feeling pretty good. It's been a good day. And, I had a couple of presentations that I had, like 3 presentations before this for work. Mm-hmm. And I killed them. So I'm feeling really fantastic, despite the awkward time. But, because of, I take things this time moment by moment, because I understand that, it's a very awkward time. So mentally it can be very difficult. So at this current moment, I'm feeling really good, and I am living in it. And I'm so happy to be here.
Well, it's mostly because we go way back and we're catching up again. I think I'm feeling that energy too. Archie, I mean, I can't believe that we know each other on Twitter and now we're having a virtual discussion. Does this mean that we're going to be virtual connected forever after COVID-19? I hope we get to meet, right? You owe me a cup of coffee. So I want to introduce you to everyone because you're a rising journalist and you're followed in your community and you're inspirational as a young woman. And I just want you to tell everyone, why did you study journalism? Take us through this journey.
Okay. Well, firstly, thank you for having me on this platform to engage with all of you bright minds. And I'm sure that we won't remain social media buddies. I'm pretty sure we'll meet up sometime. I mean, if we can connect like this, I'm sure there'll be an opportunity for us to connect in real life. And yeah, thank you for what you said. So journalism, I think I started off, I think I've always wanted to do journalism. I think I realized it when I was like in high school, maybe. It came with how much I enjoyed writing and stuff like that. And I think as I grew into finding proper career choices and stuff like that, journalism just made sense because, well, firstly, the one thing that I enjoy the most about it is telling people stories. I was never really one of like mainstream media, but I've always really wanted to tell the stories that never really get told. So I'm a writer and researcher and a journalist for a media startup called explain.co.za. And I'm also a writer for something called Humans of South Africa. So it's where we actually just get the opportunity to tell people stories, ordinary people's stories. And it's really just such an inspiring platform because everyone in South Africa has something special to say. So yeah, that's kind of me.
So Archie, I want to stick with you and I want to put you on the spot, but like in a good way, right? Because people are listening in right now. So what's your ultimate dream as a journalist? I mean, I don't know, like I want to be a TV host one day, but I don't think that's linked to journalism in any way. So tell us, what's your dream?
I think that in some ways I want to be modest, but I want to say that I'm kind of living it right now. I mean, when you start off in the field, then you have this whole very like idealistic image of being on the front page of a magazine or newspaper, or and I mean, I've had those moments, which is great. And I think as you go along with the field, you learn new things and then you grow into new aspirations. So I don't want to say I have one single dream or one single goal as a journalist, and once I reach it, it's over. I think as I grow into this role and into this career, the new aspirations and the goals will start off like kind of emerge, and interests will change. That happens. The way we report news will change. So I think it's just a process. I don't want to say I have an ultimate dream, but I think there's a few and they kind of just bundled to one good image that I want to stick to.
I like that. So Kanya said, you know, the moment by moment, you're saying your aspirations change and you're living your dream. That's amazing. But quickly before you go, where do you work? Or, you know, let's break it down a little bit. Just what is your everyday like for a young person listening in case they're aspiring to be a journalist?
Okay, that's a cool question. So currently I work for a media startup called Explain.co.za. That's my everyday job. It's fairly new. We started it, I work with the former editor of Mail and Guardian and Huffington Post. Her name is Varashni. She's an amazing person to work with. So what we do is I'm a researcher and a writer. So we take like deep, really complicated stories and try to make it easy to consume for the ordinary person to understand, because well, the whole vision behind it is that people often find that lots of news publications have a lot of jargon and complicated language, and it just kind of puts you off when you're reading it. So what we do is we simplify it. So our slogan kind of thing is news made simple. So my everyday kind of thing is just sort of, you know, diving into the news every day, researching things, making sense of things, calling people if we don't understand things. I mean, yeah. I don't work in a fast news environment, so we work on lots of like slow news, in-depth things, which is really cool because we really try to get to the bottom of everything. So that's my everyday. With the lockdown, it's a little bit more complicated because there's no structure. So sometimes I'll be working to 3 a.m. You don't even know why. But yeah, but it's a fun and it's a field it sparks your curiosity at every moment. You learn something new every single day. And I think that's the most important thing for me, is that the one reason I got into journalism was because I said that I want to know everything about everything, and I'm still learning. Yeah.
So everything about it. Oh, I'm loving this conversation already. If you're tuning in, we're hanging out. It's a Friday afternoon. I'm going to pop over to Christy very quickly, right? Because Christy, I read your bio and I was like, wow, you have won so many awards that if I have to start mentioning them, yeah, I'm going to be in trouble. I'm going to make a mistake, right? So we're profiling you today as the Kathrada Foundation because of not only these awards, but I understand you're an entrepreneur. Just tell us a little bit about where did you grow up and how did you get to this place of being super amazingly successful? So Christy, you may want to unmute yourself. I'm not sure if everyone else can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I didn't see that. So first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for the platform, to engage with everybody else. So the name is Chris Mabunda, born and raised in Rustenburg, in a small village called Kanana. It falls under the Ralbafukeng Kingdom. As you go down there, so I'm a VET alumni, VET Center of Entrepreneurship alumni. I studied there in 2017. I left, and then currently that's where actually I started like in this journey of entrepreneurship, you know, because I got introduced in this world of creating things and learning new stuff almost every day, you know. So that's where I actually got drawn, but that's not where I started actually, because when I got to the Center of Entrepreneurship, I actually realized that some of these traits or things that I'm doing now, actually, you can trace them back to when I was young, you know, like working with my mother, or when I was a student in a middle school where I was selling like sweets, you know, different stuff, you know, just to make some pocket money. So my journey began a very long time ago. Then when I got to vets, you know, I actually started I wanted to emerge into the property market, you know, because I wanted to create affordable student accommodations, because I was one of those students who were having problems, you know. So you might be surprised how I moved from property, and now I'm into cement manufacturing. I'm developing apps, you know, it's a lot. So that's how the journey is, you know, pivoting, you know, and then we finally here.
So I want to pick on your brain a little bit, right, just before we move on, because I learned last year, I quit my 9 to 5 and I tried to become an entrepreneur. And let's just say I'm a failed entrepreneur 1 year later, right? So I want to get real in this discussion, because people keep telling, or policy people, or all over, entrepreneurship, young people become entrepreneurs. And I was looking at my bank balance go down literally, and I was like, Jesus, what have I done? So, I mean, reflect with me a little bit on that. What's it really like? It's a scary journey, right? It's scary.
Yeah.
It's not a fancy term.
No, it's not actually. Now, one thing I like about this space is the learning, you know. You never stop learning. You learn every day. You learn more. You get to learn more about not only entrepreneurship, but life in general. You get to see that entrepreneurship is actually linked to everything that you do on a daily basis. It's the same as relationships, you know, they all come together. And one thing that keeps me going actually, I think it's my curiosity to learn almost every day, you know, but it's not an easy journey. I can't lie to you. It's really, really, really tough. But like, we keep the eye on the ball, man. So yeah.
And I think that's such an important message. Kenya, I see you nodding your head, but before we go to you, it's you know, the hardship, Christy, and thank you for sharing it, because there's ups, there's downs, there's wins, but it all takes time, just like anything. I'm going to go over to Jillian, right? And Jillian, I don't know why, every time I speak to you, I think of Karen Hoffman. Now, for those of you that don't know Karen Hoffman, she is this incredible professor who's this tiny human being, but full of energy and passion. And she's one of the driving forces behind the sugary beverage tax. So the tax on Coca-Cola, if you like Coke, sorry for that. And I was, I saw your post, Jillian, on LinkedIn saying you're no expert. And I just want to disagree with you right up front and say you're totally the expert. And that's why we've invited you. And to tell everyone, I was blown away by Jillian back in my young days, like not now, young days. But we were sitting at the School of Public Health at Wits University, and it's a Friday morning, and there comes Jillian giving the best presentation the school has ever seen on why you need to tax Coca-Cola. And I was just blown away. And I've been following Jillian's journey because, even when she provided her bio, she was very humble and saying she just works in the NGO space. But I understand you worked at Clinton Health, for example. So Gillian, I think that's quite an introduction for you, and I know you're going to kill me for that. But I know you wouldn't say that, and that's why I had to. So you're an expert in public health, and we know each other a little bit, but I don't think we've ever sat down to unpack this. For our young people listening in, tell us first, what is public health? Like, break it down for us.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Shaki, and thanks for that. And this platform as well. It's really, really nice to get in touch with others. Public health, geez, that's too broad. That's a very heavy question. But I think for me, it's looking at what can be done before people reach the healthcare facility. Like for me, prevention is the best cure, has been drilled into my head by Prof. Hoffman, as you said. So it's better to tackle all of these diseases before doctors and nurses and the health system has to battle with them and take the strain. And I think this lockdown, I was all for it. And I hold my breath now when we say we're going to relax the restrictions. And I just wonder what people out there are going through socioeconomically. So just understanding that side as well. And I think that's also why I got into this field. Like, I wanted to do medicine before. I don't think I was that clever. And then I got introduced to a Bachelor of Health Science degree, which combined the biology and the social sciences. So that's where I saw health is socially determined. And so I was like, I need to be in this field. There's so much more to people and disease. And that's how I found myself here.
Okay, but I mean, I want to break this down a little bit, right? Because sometimes people, and you said something very powerful, which I think we all were subject to at some point in our lives. People expected us to become doctors, or doctors are known as the gold standard. And no offense, we love our clinicians too much, right? But we're all told, doctors, lawyers, accountants, if you don't do that, your life is over. But basically, what we're even seeing in COVID-19, people are still talking a lot about the doctors and the nurses, and rightly so. They're very important. But I like that analogy or that example of a hospital's made up of security guards and people who do the laundry and people who do administration. And people like us, Julian, for those who are tuning in, I also work in public health, who believe that it's not just seeing a patient and they go home, it's making sure that the entire system works very well. And Gillian, I want you to talk a little bit, if you can, about some of the work that you've done in the NGO space or the civil society space and what that's about, just so young people are more exposed to the amazing work you're doing.
So it started off, like you said, with Prof. Hoff and the sugar tax. So there were other people doing the modeling side of it. I went into the community in Soweto and I was like, okay, where are these Coke adverts placed in relation to schools, and what impact can we expect from there? Because we saw like the childhood rates of diabetes and obesity were increasing. And it was like, okay, these companies are actively targeting children in these communities. So that's why we had like a backup to this tax as well, so that government could see that it needs a full approach, not just a tax implemented there. Then I did a similar study with the Soul City Institute. They were looking at alcohol advertisements and how that impacts communities as well. Then after that, I got a taste of community-oriented primary care, which is at the University of Pretoria. So there it was working with community health workers on the ground, going house to house, door to door, and saying, are you taking your ARV medication? Are you complying? The nurse said you didn't come last week to collect your TB medication. What's going on? So seeing that at the coal face and how health services are delivered there, that really, really broadened my picture. After that, I joined Clinton Health. There we did HIV prevention and testing programs. That was the complete opposite from working in the communities, because now it was working with National Department of Health. So you could see from there, you spoke about the policies mentioned before, how the policies that national makes does not translate to the community person down at the ground level. So that really, really broadened my perspective. And after that, I came to Cape Town and I worked for an NGO doing HIV prevention and medical male circumcision in Mitchell's Plain.
I mean, that's a broad range. It's, you know, that's public health, essentially what you've just said. It's the food, it's the prevention, it's the HIV, it's malaria, for example. It's now COVID-19. Gosh, gobsmack COVID-19, everyone. So Gillian, thank you for that. I noticed that Palesa, who's also joined us, has video connectivity issues. Is she still on? I don't see her on. Do you all see her on, or is it just me? No. So then we're going to pop back to Kanya. But Gillian, thank you for that, because I think you do really, really resounding and important work. And I think one of my favorite questions in public health that people always ask is, so what do you do? And you're like, you know. So we'll stop there for now. Kanya, oh my God. So you're a quantitative analyst. Tell the young people, what on earth is that, and how does that work?
First of all, you look so beautiful, Dr. Choonara.
I joked, I said today's light camera action, right?
So quantitative analyst, so I studied mathematical statistics. So that is basically a Bachelor of Science. In the beginning, there's about 4 modules that you choose, and then they start trickling down as the years go by to 2 majors. So I studied mathematics, computer science, applied maths, and mathematical statistics. And then my 2 majors were mathematical statistics and mathematics. Then I went on to do my honors, and I studied mathematical statistics. So what mathematical statistics is, it's basically, it's working with numbers to extract information from numbers. And the most simplest explanation, that's what it is. So from, you know, the display of graphs, from the display of tables, to make, you know, data more fashionable, more appealing, and more educational for whoever's reading it. That's what we do as statisticians. So as a quantitative analyst, I work in the finance space. I'm within credit risk. And basically we develop the statistical models that gauge the credit worthiness of clients. By credit worthiness of clients, I mean how likely a client is to miss a payment when it comes to them taking a loan, or, you know, when it comes to their financial health, will they be able to pay back the loan? So, you know, as individuals, we all take out loans, we all take out credit. So we, the people who help the bank, basically keep enough money just in case, you know, people don't pay their loans and they don't pay their credit. And also we help them gauge whether they should basically give credit to someone or give loans to someone. So we develop the workings that basically calculate that, in summary, as quantitative analysts. So it's very high in technology.
Now, you know, to the young people tuning in, I'm sure they're so excited to hear this diverse range from Archie to Christy and now you. And I mean, the one question they're probably asking listening to you, because I really like how you broke it down, Kanya. You always break it down so well, right? But the question they're probably asking is, so do I have to be good at math?
Oh, that's a very good question. Yes.
So now you ruined all our dreams of being a quantitative analyst. Is that it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, not ruined your dreams, not absolutely to that, but I really need to be honest, you definitely do need to be good at maths. However, the upside of it, I believe that everyone has the ability to be mathematical. I, for one, had a teacher who really focused on me in primary school in grade 6, Mr. Stevens. And he focused on me so much because he saw potential in me. And I think my marks weren't that high in terms of maths. Like, I think I was still in the 60s, 70s. And he helped get my marks to the 90s because he believed in me, he focused on me. I think there's a huge intimidation when it comes to the mathematical subject that is the first barrier that every single student needs to get over. And the reason they don't get over it is because we've been told all our lives that you need to be smart to do mathematics. The moment I say I'm doing mathematical statistics, they like, everybody says, oh, you're smart, you know? And my thing is always like, you know, why isn't there the same response for somebody who says they're doing journalism? Because there's intellect is so varied, right? In my opinion. And just because I've done a mathematical degree doesn't mean that I'm more smarter than somebody who is a professional in a different field. It just means that I am good at this particular skill. But this is a skill that I think anybody can basically acquire if they're given the confidence to actually tackle it and, you know, overcome the barrier of lack of confidence in it. I've been a tutor before, and I've seen, you know, students go from, one of the students I tutored, they went from 20% to 70%. And it's a confidence thing. Students need to be encouraged and not told that they can't. I think if we focus on telling people that they can't, people start to believe it. So the moment we start to instill a sense of belief in people that they can do something, then they start to see that, oh, I actually can, and the intimidation was just a facade.
Okay, so we're going to come back to you because I see the audience has some questions for you, but I want to bring Palesa into the discussion. And I know, Palesa, you've had some internet connectivity issues, right? And I'm so glad that you're joining us, even if it's an hour late. And sorry to keep you waiting, but these
No
stories
problem.
are gripping, don't you think?
I didn't get that, so please repeat it.
I was saying that I don't know how much you've heard, but you know, everybody's giving us such rich, gripping stories. I think I'll get like straight into it with you, of course, but just to introduce you to everyone, I always love to introduce people when they talk about what they're studying, because it says so much about them. And I understand you're doing a master's degree, and you know, let us appreciate that in these times, because it takes someone so much to get there. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and the young club members speaking, listening in, and just let them know how you're feeling today. How did you get to this place in your journey?
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for that. Okay, my name is Palesa Mofokeng. So first, let me just greet the AKF youth at large and the Facebookers out there. Yes, like I said, my name is Palesa, and of course, I am doing my master's in educational technology with Wits University. So obviously, I also did my undergrad degrees, you know, your B.Ed and B.Ed honors with Wits University. And having been part of the many leadership structures at Wits, one which was being also in the Wits SRC, has really taught me a lot in terms of giving back, number one, and just assisting in any way that we can. And I think the reason why obviously I chose education was so that I can try in my very own way and best way possible to really make a difference, you know, in the very little space that I find myself in. So basically that is just me in terms of education and leadership as a whole.
And I mean, I'm just going to pause there. Tell us, are you studying at the moment, or you've completed studying? Are you working?
At the moment I am studying. Yes, I am currently doing my master's. It's part-time, so this year is just at first year of coursework, and next year is more of research part of it.
And what do you ultimately plan to do? I mean, you know, we've got 18-year-olds sitting on this call, so they're probably trying to understand, after your master's degree, okay, you're going to earn a lot of money, we hope, but what else will you be doing? Oh no, I think Palesa's connection is not so good. Okay, so we're going to pause.
What I'm currently busy with NGOs for profit and non-profit.
Palesa, sorry, could you repeat that, because I think we lost you for 2 seconds. Okay. Vanessa, can you repeat that for us quickly? Okay. Vanessa, I'm going to ask you to be on mute, right? Just as we try and solve some of your connectivity issues, but we really want to come back and listen to you. So feel free to type in the chat box as well, and we'll share with the audience some of your thoughts. Christy, I'm going to bounce back to you, right? To the young people listening, and the idea of our youth activism program is that we want to inspire young people to take up action. But on your side, what's the one thing that you really, really stand for? We'd love to hear from you.
Ooh, that's one of the
Or two things. You can
hardest
give us two things.
questions. Yeah, I wasn't ready for that, but I'm an activist for change, you know, hence I'm in a space that I'm in. Focus mainly like on climate change, like I said, because that's like, I think that's where all the problems that we're facing, almost all the problems that we're facing in the world stems from, you know. So I'm just an activist for change, you know, try my best to contribute, you know, to the entire community and the world as a whole, you know.
So climate change, I want to unpack that a little bit, right? Do you think climate change is big in Africa? I mean, I shouldn't be asking you this. I'm from the African Union. No hat there, I'm joking. But do you think that the climate change is big enough for our governments?
It's actually, I think it's actually worse here more than in like any other part of the world. Because in Africa, you know, we have a lot of infrastructural deficit at the moment. So we don't have measures in place that have been, like you can see now with the coronavirus. We didn't have like the infrastructure or the plan on how we're going to combat it when it arrives here. So I think it's gonna be the same thing with climate change when it reaches its peak. You know, I don't think we're ready for that because of the infrastructure. You know, I don't think there's measures in place that have been put. I don't think, you know, and the sad part is that there's a lot of people who have ideas on how they think we can help combat or alleviate climate change, but they're not given the platform to actually test their products, you know, put them in the market and everything. So I think we're not ready. So I think it's bigger here than anywhere else in the world. No, yeah.
I mean, I was just sorry. I'm trying to multitask with everything. That's what us millennials do. But I think when you talk about climate change, I was talking to someone the other day, and I said, imagine we have COVID-19, and then we hit like by a cyclone or something. Okay, I don't want to be the voice of doom this Friday afternoon, but I also want to expose the young people to the different types of careers they can follow. So you're an entrepreneur, but you're also merging entrepreneurship with climate change.
Yep.
Archie, I can see the wheels going off in your head. To the young people who just joined in, Archie is a fantastic upcoming journalist, or should I say journalist already. And Archie, tell us, what's your definition of activism? Could you even, I suppose, could you even practice it in your space?
Okay, that's a good question. So I think that part of journalism is activism because you're using your words. I used to say that I want to use my words to create change. It's another reason why I got into journalism. So I think like journalism is a really powerful platform, and media itself is a really powerful platform to help inform people. And then another part of it is empowerment. You use information to arm yourself so that you can if you arm yourself with the right information, you can make the choices and form opinions better. So I think that a big part of journalism is actually activism, and also the way you choose your stories. I feel like personally for me, maybe other people will disagree, but that when you choose a story, you kind of have to be personally invested in it. You have to know what questions you want to ask. And also when I mentioned that I'm more into the news that happens behind the scenes. I think that kind of falls into how I want to use journalism to give a voice to the voiceless. So a lot of the news that we hear, or a lot of things that are happening in South Africa, are always like kind of behind the scenes. We have so many like rural areas in South Africa, and we don't really know what's happening in these areas. And we only would know them because of the media. So in that sense, I think that a large portion of what journalism is sort of an activism. It's a service to the public.
Mm-hmm. And so before I let you go, I just want to ask you on behalf of those listening in, right? In this time of COVID-19, we have so much of information coming through. Oh my God. How do we as young people make a little bit of sense of what's going on?
Yeah, that's a big one. We use this word called infodemic. It's like, because there's information coming from everywhere. You want to know what's happening. But I think that the most important thing is to not just accept everything like face value. I know like lots of people get information through WhatsApp, for example. And then I'm sure like a few weeks ago, there was that whole fake news debacle that was going on about like 5G conspiracy theories and the guy with earbuds stuck up his nose and stuff like that. So there's certain things that we have to like second question, and also don't just accept everything you hear, because like, you know, they're talking about fake news being like criminal in these times. So I think that speaks a lot to the news that we consume. So, I mean, choose your platforms, watch the news at night, but also at the same time, don't get so invested in it that sometimes you do need a break from the news. Because, like, for myself personally, you do feel like that, oh my God, there's just so much that I don't know and so much that I need to know. But I mean, yeah, it's just like choosing the right platforms that appeal to you, especially if you're interested in business stories. You can always go for stuff like Business Day. You can always there's everything out there. You just need to choose what makes sense to you personally. Like for us at Explain, we do lots of like easy to consume news, so maybe that's something that would appeal to people. So yeah.
And I love your glasses while you say this. Gillian, I'm going to come to you quickly. Seriously, I love these glasses since we lost. Gillian, I'm going to come to you because, you know, you've been listening to everyone, and I think you're a very critical thinker. Just weigh in. What are you thinking right now? Share with us. Share with the audience.
Also, in the same boat as Arti, I also try and take a break from the news. I limit myself to 2 times a day checking a news app or something, because it really is too much and it's a lot to make sense of. And even you think of mental health and you're stuck between 4 walls and it's like, okay, I can only go outside and get a little bit of sun. So yeah, it's nice hearing everyone's perspective. It's nice touching in with everyone, hearing what goes on in other people's lives. So that's really nice to take a mind of it.
I'm not going to let you off the hook this quickly, right? Because everybody else is put on the spot too. So tell us, have you thought about 10 years' time? What is it that you want to achieve? If you mind sharing with us, of course, or don't mind sharing with us.
I think, okay, being in the public health field, it changes every so often. Like you said, you go from HIV, now it's COVID. I even see some profs who have been like legends in the HIV space now speaking about COVID things. I'm like, okay. So I like that it allows for that flexibility and things are ever evolving. So I think maybe in a few years' time, it will be like making telemedicine more accessible, maybe tying it in with how NHI is going to work one day, and just making healthcare more accessible in that format. If we get more 5G infrastructure and it becomes cheaper to access data, I think that's the way we go.
You know what it makes me think of? Like what my ultimate health system would be when you watch Wakanda and you're like, yo, that's what we want to get for our health system.
Exactly.
Right? But right now, we're in the middle of the pandemic. Let's not even go to what's happening. Kanya's thinking, what is Shakira saying? Palesa, I want to try and bring you back in very quickly if you can. I hope a connection's good. I'm so sorry about this. Okay. We're not hearing from Palesa yet. But Gillian, before we go, right, to Kanya, because there's a question for Kanya. Sorry, Kanya, I'm giving you the suspense of this question, and it's such a good one. Gillian, what's your advice to young people out there who want to get into public health? What do they need to do? What do they need to study? Which university do they go to?
So there are some good universities. There's FITS that I went to. I know UWC has a very good public health school, even Cape Town, UCT. Nelson Mandela School, Medical School in UKZN. I think they're also offering courses there. But also, like, you can just go to drop an email to a prof and say, hey, I saw you on the news talking about whatever thing they're doing, and say, I'm interested, I want to help out. Where can I help out? And sometimes you can get lucky because profs get funding for projects, and then they can be like, oh, I've got a little bit of money that can be a stipend for you. So that's, I think, my journey, just dropping emails, cold calling. I'm interested in what you do. I want to join and I want to learn. And they usually are very, very open to that. I think they also like mentoring young people. So, which is good. Just show a little bit of interest, put yourself out there, and who knows where you'll land up.
I like that advice, because it's just ask. I've learned that too. In fact, I'll share with young people. One of my first jobs after I finished my PhD, I asked, and someone replied, and I got my first gig. So just ask. You never know. It's either yes or no, but it's how we roll, right? Kanya, I'm finally coming to you. Have you felt the suspense? Are you waiting for this question?
So much suspense, Dr. Choonara.
Wait, I'm going to pick it up. Oh no, you must have seen it on WhatsApp. No, that ruins my life. Oh no. But anyways, one of the questions is, tell us, and I'll go a little bit more into this, but tell us about the Young Catalyst, what it's about, and thank you for partnering with us for this first Hangout series.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So you've been a panel head for the Young Catalyst. So the Young Catalyst is my dream child. It's what I'm passionate about, just like as Arti mentioned about media and the power of conversation and stories. I was feeling really, really alone in my master's year, and feeling borderline depressed, I would say, and really felt like, oh my God, I'm just not living my purpose. And I wanted to create a platform which connects people. And for me, one of the things that connects people is stories. It's conversations. It's those two things. So I wanted to create a platform that encourages young people, that educates young people, and also celebrates young people. So I created the Young Catalyst for those three core reasons. And basically, we have conversations with young people, young leaders, on things that they're passionate about, on their stories. The topics are very wide ranging. And as Arti said, I believe conversation is activism as well. It's very important to know what you put on earth for, and to basically make that happen. And through the Young Catalyst, I've been able to make that happen through having people like you speak on public health and host panels. I've been able to have people speak on LGBT issues. I've been able to have people speak on their experiences as Black women in corporate South Africa. And I feel like those conversations are very important, that we share stories that help us relate to each other and help us know that we're not alone. So that's what the Young Catalyst is. It's about educating, it's about connecting people, and we do that through conversation.
And I like the word catalyst. I mean, that was one of the reasons I partnered with you all that time back.
Not me. Not me.
We came in from One Young World, and you see this organization called the Young Catalyst. Unpack the word catalyst. What do we need in South Africa at the moment to be catalytic? And not EFF kind catalytic, not that this is political, but yes.
We need compassionate people. You know, we need people who who care, who care about their neighbor, who care about the person on the street, who care about their friends, people who reach out. There's power in that. There's power in people empathizing and understanding, you know, and looking beyond their own struggles. I think, you know, if we have a world like that, especially during a time like this, we will be able to catalyze the world, because all we need in the world is literally love. And I'm not even trying to sound corny, but if we can love each other a little more, so when there's somebody on the street who is, you know, asking for food, or money, you know, sometimes to just think, oh my God, let me, as you're buying groceries, let me just buy a, you know, a pie or something like that, that I can give to someone on the street. So I think we need more people like that, because those acts of kindness are the acts that remind people that, oh my God, my existence means something. So I think it's very important that we have care, and that way we can literally catalyze the world to be a better place.
You know, I wish it was one of those times I could come and give you a real hug like we did after Young Catalyst. But, you know, Kanya, what you're saying is powerful. And I want to unpack this before we go into more questions. And I hope my panelists, I'm seeing the expressions and I think it resounded with them. We've lost humanity. Leadership has lost humanity. It's become about myself and everything else, but not about what we're actually supposed to be doing and who we're serving. But I also want to unpack it for the young people watching right now, is that your day job, your 9 to 5 or 9 to midnight maybe, is a quantitative analyst, but you've set up your dream organization on the side, and just aiming to build other young people. It may not be well known right now, but you've touched so many lives. And so I just want to congratulate you on that. And I want young people to know that it's difficult, but it's possible. So we have a couple of questions. Actually, I think there's one for you. I'm going to just, sorry everyone for looking down. Hi, Archie. One of my friends, I love that, once spoke about the idea that instead of being the voice for the voiceless, how about we give them a mic so they speak for themselves?
Okay, so I think different. So I also want to just tie back to what Kanya said. Your words were really powerful about conversation and bringing people together, and how that just creates a better humanity. So on this question, I think different platforms do enable that, where they actually directly give you the mic and give you the opportunity to speak for yourself and to say your story as raw and as open as you want it to be. And I like it. I personally do, because I think that sometimes when you edit stuff, it gets lost in translation and you feel that you didn't really come across, or this person's story didn't come across as powerful as they wanted it to. And I think I mentioned earlier on that I write for Humans of South Africa, and that's exactly what we do. We don't temper with anything that someone said. We go up to them, we ask them questions, and they tell us their story openly and freely, and we put the picture on the platform, and it's kind of just a space for people to feel like they're not alone, to inspire other people, and it's spoken in the first word. So I think I'm for that idea of giving people the opportunity to speak what they want to, as they would want to say it. So yeah, and I think it also creates more of a powerful and impactful way of conveying something.
Well, number one, we're waiting for you to write about this conversation on Next Ladies. Just joking. Two, we also hope that you're going to own your own press media agency, because that's exactly what we want, the human stories. You know, Gillian, I was on a discussion the other day and telling someone that people just talk about coronavirus deaths. Do they know what on earth a death means to someone, you know, and the emotional difficulties people are going through at the moment? It's not just deaths, recoveries, cases. Christy, you're off the charts at the moment for our questions. Oh my goodness. Kenya had the biggest suspense question. You have about 1 million questions directed at you.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pick one or two. I'm going to pick this one because I like this one. Now, you know, this is the power of the moderator sometimes.
Okay.
So hi, Christy. How do we convince people that climate change isn't a hoax and it's a serious global health issue?
I think we should take it as a warning sign. You know, there's been some warning signs with the whole coronavirus thing, but people didn't take it serious until it hit us. And then we don't have any plan, you know. I think people should actually start taking this whole thing serious, like as the COVID-19. Like the COVID-19 should actually be used as the example of what could happen to the world if we're not prepared. So climate change is one of those things.
That's powerful. And then one more for you. Like I said, there's 7,000 questions. I haven't been on the Facebook. I'm sure there's even more. Which industries
I'm
or
happy
products?
to answer all of them.
Oh, as much as I'm enjoying this conversation, I may fall over at my chair quickly.
Okay.
Chris, which industries or products or businesses do you think young entrepreneurs should look at in the next few years?
Firstly, most of the booming economies focus mostly in the app developments. They are focused mostly in the green economy, and in the green economy, it's very broad and diverse, and there isn't a lot of people. It's a secret. There isn't a lot of people who are actually taking part in that department. You know, it's broken down into waste management. There's solar. There's renewable energy. There is quite a lot that people can actually tap into. Also, like there's been a lot of organizations trying to get people to use artificial intelligence, big data, data analytics, linking them with behavioral economics, you know, trying to come up with something that can make people actually take this entire climate change thing, you know. So there's a lot of business opportunities in the green economy as a whole.
And unfortunately, Jillian's going to laugh at this one. I don't know. I'm clearly not an entrepreneur economist, but it sounds like hand sanitizers, gloves, masks, those sort of things. Boom, you're suddenly a millionaire, Jillian. Jillian, I'm going to, you know, we left with a few more minutes and I'll give everyone time for closing. We've gone through some of the questions. Jillian, what advice would you give? Okay, let's rephrase this, right? Tell us what you were like at 15 years old, and then what advice would you give yourself when you were 15 years old?
Not to take myself so seriously, not to put too much pressure on myself to think everything's going to work out by 18, by 20, 21, and you know, the journey is so much better than the destination, and you've just got to enjoy that whole process, learn from the ups and downs, from the rejection, from the hard lessons that you learn, and in the end it just makes the whole process a whole lot better. And you look back, like I've used this time that we had in lockdown, and I was like, you know, this is what I've learned so far, and this is where I am, and it's good to see that change over time. So yeah.
I love that. Don't feel pressure. And, you know, I want to say something, but I'm afraid as a board member, I'll be thrown out of the board before I even started. So I'm not going to say that, but I'll tell you off air, I promise. Artie, I'm going to switch to you as we close off. You know, you talked about bringing the voice of the voiceless, and, you know, sometimes there's a lot of contention around that, and it's normal, right? But there's lots of young people who are not privileged like us to be listening in, to tune in, to be in the positions we're in. What's your hope in how we reach these young people?
Okay, yeah, that's a complicated one. So access to media is one of like the biggest things that, I mean, because everything has gone so digital now, there's that stress that not everyone has access to it. Like we're seeing now with COVID, and some students being afforded the privilege to have their classes done via Zoom and online, while the rest don't have access to a device or even data or even Wi-Fi. And I feel like that's a big gap that we have to address when it comes to informing the public. We can always resort to different and older traditional methods of informing people through like newspapers, pamphlets, and stuff like that. But I think that to address it, I think that word of mouth still works, but also there's the stress that news could get mixed up in there. But I think that's something that we have to think of truly, because like you said, not everyone has access. And I think that's the biggest gap that South Africa faces now, the whole poverty inequality gap. And I think that, yeah, I don't have the solution right now, but it's something that we have to think about. Because I think as the world changes, media also has to change, and access has to change, and how people consume it has to change. So yeah.
No, but I think that's brilliant, and you're raising something for our listeners. What are the solutions to this? And I'm going to bang on this because I was banging on this in the last panel I was in. But 44% of this continent does not have access to internet. So we are really excluding even a bigger chunk of people that we spoke about. Palesa, I'm so hoping to God that before we end off, you're able to hear us and come in.
Hi Shakira, I'm just gonna use the audio for now. Is that fine?
That's fine. We're just glad that we can, you know, even if it's for 2 minutes, we missed having you. Everyone's nodding and excited. Palesa, what's your advice to young people that are going through very difficult things at the moment, not just because of coronavirus? What's your advice to them?
My advice to young people, or to, I didn't get that part.
Well, your advice to young people going through very difficult things in their life at the moment, who are younger than us, perhaps.
I think for young people, honestly, is that they mustn't be afraid to, number one, reinvent themselves. I mean, when you meet circumstances such as COVID-19, you know, a black swan as it comes, I mean, you shouldn't be afraid to reinvent yourself and to really adapt. Again, you have to use what you have to do what you can. And it's very important that at this point in time that young people really reflect to say what is working out for me and what is not working for me, and then make an informed decision based on what you are reflecting upon. It's very, very crucial that we reflect on what we're doing and the actions that we put out there. And then I think as well, at this very point in time as young people, we must put ourselves out there and then avail ourselves and our services so that the world knows about them. I mean, we have your social media platforms where we can literally leverage the power of social media to really empower ourselves and others in the process. So while we're still in this reflection era and trying to reinvent ourselves and
Okay, but at least we had a little bit from Palesa. I'm so happy, and she was powerful. She talked about the importance of reflection. Kanya, I'm going to go to you now. We're going to end off, right? If everybody allows me to. I don't want to end this, even though I said I'll fall off my chair. It's been incredible. I've been hanging on to all of everything you've been saying. Kanya, before we end off, right, this Friday afternoon, let's get a little bit deep, but very quickly in about 30 seconds. What's the South Africa you want to see? Not the South Africa we're currently seeing, this divided nation. What's the South Africa you want to see?
Ooh, what a powerful question. I'd love to see a South Africa of inclusion starting from the home. So a non-divided South Africa racially, from the home, from the conversations people have at home. South Africa that doesn't discriminate against the LGBT from the home. Because I think if that changes, then everything else will be a ripple effect. So, you know, the enclosed internal nuclear conversations, that's the South Africa that I want to see. I want those conversations to change and for there to be more inclusive, diverse conversations. And yeah, I think you get what I'm saying.
I think you hit it on the head. It's got to start at home, and how externally many of us have unracist behavior, but internally there's racism, for example. So the home and the individual is very important. It's a powerful message to end up of. In terms of you, an activist, the individual is important. I want to thank you, Christy. You have made me worried about coronavirus and having a hurricane at the same time. Jillian, you've broken down public health for us. Artie, I'm waiting for the write-up. Kanya, it is always a pleasure to have you. Palesa, I wish we could have more of you. Everybody listening, we've heard from journalists, climate change activists, a quantitative analyst, you've got to be good at maths, public health, an educationist. Thank you for tuning into the ACAF first Hangout series. Before you go, I hope this works because I requested it. I want to also thank my co-pilot behind all of this, and we look forward to hosting you every Friday, Irfan Mangera. But please bring yourself on and the music, and thank you everyone. Cheerio.
Thank you. Continue, Shakira.
Hey, it was a great one. Hey, but I was a bit nervous.
We're still live and we're about to play our song just to relax all of us, but go for it. I mean, I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you did. Let's test Irfan's skills because we can't hear anything. Maybe if we mute ourselves. Irfan, maybe your volume. We still live, but it's fine. Okay. I guess this wasn't music, it was dance moves.
It's a my dad.
African beer. February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Popcorn, chewing gum, peanuts and bubble gum, ice cream, candy, floss and Eskimo pie. Won't get them fuzzy or independent, let's go 50-50. Won't get them Monju or independent, let's go 50-50. Travelari, the people please dance. Travelari, their voice take a chance. Travelari, for you to find romance. Travelari, ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah. Tonight, the wedding feast, the memorized, the culture beast, the world of travel will be here. Go look around the people here. Rangford, die Harlekijn of wijn. Rooi wijn, feest en lach en tranen in pijn. Ik ga la buko motwane. Ik ga la buko motwane. I'm your weekend special. I'm your weekend special. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah.